Well, the Trump administration's latest offensive move against Venezuela, the seizure of a tanker carrying U.S. sanctioned oil, has triggered outrage from Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro's government. Here to tell us more about is national security analyst Armin Kurdian. Armin, thank you so much for coming in.
Good morning, Allie.
So tell me, there has been a lot of news, a lot of people following what has been happening, especially in the waters off of Venezuela. Tell me about what we're seeing now.
Well, for everybody to be very clear, this is a law enforcement action, not military action. This was a seizure of a ship that had repeatedly, over many years, violated international rules on transporting sanctioned oil from sanctioned countries to other sanctioned countries. So it's not unprecedented. These things are rare, but it is a viable action when a ship is operating lawlessly, and obviously it was very, very lawless in terms of how it was behaving.
Okay, and so what does that mean? When you're breaking that down, what does that mean?
Well, the ship they have to broadcast their position, actively broadcast who they are and where they are. They were not doing that. In fact, coming up on screens, if you looked at the screens, it looked like it was zigzagging, doing kind of crazy things. It was flying under a false flag, which makes it stateless. The country of Guyana says that, no, that's not our ship. So there's a very clear record, false papers of them trying to hide their activities. There are ships like this all over the world that help countries flaunt international sanctions by doing this kind of thing. And they're not in very good shape. They're old. They usually don't have insurance as well, so it's kind of dangerous as well. So actually moving some of these things off of the high seas is probably good, because some of these ships, they leak oil. And like I said, they're rust buckets, a lot of them, so it's also a safety issue.
Yeah, and so of course, when this happens, when the U.S. makes the decision to do this, there's going to be response.
Yeah, absolutely. I will say that, anybody who's, maybe opposed this administration calling this thing a potential act of piracy, they need to stop talking. It's not an act of piracy. If you want to make a policy discussion where you think it's a good idea or not, that's a fair argument to make, but it is certainly not piracy. The U.S. seized 4 tankers in 2020 that were carrying sanctioned Iranian oil. The U.S. just seized a vessel between China and Iran selling dual-use parts. The British seized a tanker in the Persian Gulf in 2019. These kinds of things happen, and they do need to happen. Like I said, it needs to be rare. You don't want to be doing this on a regular basis, but sometimes it's just so egregious that you have to take that action.
And so what does this mean for us locally? What does this mean as far as the broader picture and how we move forward?
Well, it means several things. I mean, the U.S. still sometimes gets some of its oil from Venezuela, but in terms of what we'll see here in terms of our gas prices, it probably won't necessarily have much of an impact in that sense. But at the same time, it also prevents the financing of these organizations, because Venezuela was taking this oil, selling on the black market, had 2 million barrels of this thing on its in its ship. Maybe I think it was barrels. So that's a lot of money that the Maduro regime was going to get from the sale of this. And funding their regime, a lot of that thing lines the pockets of this regime, and the poor people of Venezuela are absolutely impoverished. So in that sense, it puts more pressure on his regime, puts more pressure on him to, is more isolated, perhaps to resign. Obviously, this administration wants to see a more free government, a more open government in Venezuela, which would benefit not only the United States, but frankly, the people of Venezuela and South America as well.
All right, Armin, thank you for coming in. We appreciate your time and your insight on this topic.
Thanks, Sally. Appreciate it.